My name is Matt Duff. I'm a former professional baseball player, actually. So, the chew and the gum and all that part of playing baseball for 13 years, but really backing up to when I was a kid. I loved to play baseball, and, you always saw the big leaguers with the dip and the chew. And not that that was really a draw to me, dipping, but I did start doing, Skull, Copenhagen back when I was in college. But growing up, I had the best teeth. I had soft teeth. I got a lot of cavities just because I guess all the sugar and, didn't have the proper diet enough when I was younger, but I always had really straight teeth and good teeth all the way up until, out of college playing professional baseball. But I traveled a lot, so I didn't really have kind of a set routine with a dentist and cleaning, and I didn't take care of my teeth like I should have. And, but I'd always kind of gotten away with it. And then finally got to the point where root canals started happening, crowns, things like that. And all that was going okay, I guess. And then I, lost a crown here and there. And then the dentist I was using was no longer, in practice. And so I was kind of embarrassed really to go somewhere else that I just felt comfortable with, who I'd been using. And then my other teeth started getting compromised, and I'm using these teeth heavily because I don't have, bottom right molar or whatever. And so these teeth started getting compromised. They just got worse and worse. And then I just started kind of dealing with it, for the last several years. So, the first, crown missing, and then, you've got kind of the nub where the crown was, and then you're dealing with it, eating, and then kind of got used to it. And you're moving food around, depending on where that was. And that's kind of how it started. And as it progressed, I didn't get those crowns replaced. And then my other teeth started, getting worse, and I felt like they were getting smaller and smaller, maybe because of the use, and I'm having to use teeth that I normally wouldn't to eat. But the pain part of it, I just started getting used to a certain extent. Just it's been off and on. And I'd have, finally got to the point where I had the crowns. I went into a dentist. This has been years ago. And they pulled those teeth where the crowns were supposed to be. And we were just going to start over with implants in the back. And so I did that probably, it's been 5, maybe 6 years ago. And I never went back. They prepped my basically jawline for putting some implants in, and my top teeth were fine. And I never went back. And so I started using these top teeth to eat, and they started getting smaller and getting cusps in them like, your back teeth do where you chew your food. And they just started dwindling down little by little. And I would start noticing it. With my job, we do outdoor TV. So, you're out hunting. And so the persona of a guy out hunting, I usually have a big dip in my mouth, and, it's rough and tough. And so, I'm not worried about having a big smile and showing all my teeth. And half the time, it's a lot of dip in my teeth, so I just don't really think about it on camera. But when we would, at the end of the year, when we would do our interviews, our sit-down interviews, kind of like we're doing now, where, the lighting is good and you can really see, I started really noticing how much I had compensated and started covering my teeth because, I was aware of how bad they were looking to me. So I knew how they used to look. And so they've gotten worse and worse over the years, and it just kept kind of snowballing, and then I just got used to dealing with it. And I think a lot of people do that where they learn to talk with their mouth closed and they're conscious of it. And like you were saying, when you had that one tooth, I can remember when I just had the one missing crown, it was so self-conscious about that. And now I've got, no back teeth that were, going to be replaced with implants, but I never went back. And I've always been a very confident guy and, in life in general, but, being in the not spotlight, but having a TV show and being somewhat of a public figure. I'm nobody special, but, that is our business and has been. It was a linear TV, television show, hunting show for years. But now with the advent of social media, the emotional part of it every day, like you're saying, is I deal with it. And I've gotten used to kind of dealing with it. But, when I get a chance to go see some friends or go do something or, be in the public space where I know people are going to see me, especially like at an outdoor trade show or something like that, I really try to avoid it at all costs because I know how bad my mouth looks to me. And so emotionally, I think it has a lot to do with my mental health, over the years. And I've known it for so long and needed to do something about it. But I'm on a ranch, and so I'm guiding hunters, and, I'm in hunting camps a lot. And, the staple is steak and potatoes. And I'm always the guy that's like, hey, I don't eat a lot, or make some excuse to go, well, I'm not going to eat this big ribeye. And part of it is because, and I'll attempt it, but I'll be the last guy at the table, partly because I like to talk a lot. But other than that, I'm trying to chew the food up, because if I don't chew it up enough, then it'll get stuck, and it just takes me forever to chew steak or even grilled chicken. But when we go to restaurants, even if we go somewhere to, the nice steakhouse or whatever, I'm looking for the fish. I'm looking for the grilled fish or the, whatever, something that I can handle that I'm not going to have to chew with the teeth that I have right now remaining, because I don't have these back teeth. And I love steak and like venison and elk, and but I'm having to make chili or tacos, with it, ground meat. I mean, any type of dense steak type food that I love, I just try to avoid at all costs. And we were last week. I mean, the guys were all out, and he said, pull out 8 ribeyes for us. We're gonna cook steaks, and I poured out 7. And he's like, yeah, you don't want us that? I'm like, no, I'm good. And my boss now, I said, I can't eat it until I get my teeth fixed. It's not enjoyable, for me. And so that's been a long time that I've had to, deal with that. So the main thing is just being conscious of, my teeth showing and talking with, my mouth closed, basically. And I used to talk with my teeth showing. And I can look back, this is season 15 of Major League Bowhunter. So I've got 15 years of doing TV interviews for the outdoor TV show. And I look back on a lot of the interviews, and I'm kicked back and I'm smiling, my top teeth are, you can see my teeth, and I'm smiling. And part of my personality was that, and all pictures. I mean, I had big smiles where teeth were showing. And then as things were getting worse, I'm like, oh, this tooth is missing now. So I would be very conscious of keeping my bottom lip over my bottom teeth, because there's big spaces back here. And try not to even, if you told me to choke, instead of being, laughing and kind of opening my mouth, and how I was so conscious about keeping my mouth closed to not show my teeth. And I know people noticed it, and in years and years of just talking to different people in passing, when I have mentioned about my teeth or whatever, and it'd be, almost like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, look, I'm missing all these teeth. And they're like, oh, we wouldn't know it. And I'm like, because I've trained myself to cover my, my teeth, even with my upper lip, and just not open my mouth when I talk as much. Obviously now with social media, and that's become a huge part of our business. And, my wife will even tell you, they're wanting me to do more and more posts, social media wise, in my daily life. But when I do, do the selfie type video, I look and I'm like, my teeth look like crap to me, and I really don't want to film that stuff every day, which I need to be doing for our business, but I haven't been because of, in fact, I love snowboarding. So when I go snowboarding in NASCAR, I'll have posts every day during, when I'm snowboarding on the mountain, because I got a mask on and goggles, and I'm posting videos and, stories on Instagram because my teeth are closed. But when they're not, and, even in pictures smiling just with my wife, or trophy photos with a deer, elk, turkey, whatever, I don't even, show my teeth anymore. I've just learned to kind of halfway smile using my lips. I mean, I don't really know. It's just been such a long time coming that I know it's going to take some getting used to, because I'm so used to seeing myself the way my teeth are now, that I know it'll be a shock to a certain extent. I mean, I'll probably be my worst critic as far as how they look and all that, but really they've kind of set my mind at ease. I mean, they've seen older pictures when my teeth were great. And this was, I never had braces, didn't have any kind of work done, and just always had pretty good teeth. And so showing them those pictures and the designers, and they're going to base them off of, everything. I mean, the technology they have, and then talking about, your center line and where, all your teeth are proportionate to where they, of what they are now. It's like, that was my concern. Is like, if I get a set of teeth and, they're all kind of the same and real uniform to a certain extent. I almost was worried about that and go, well, are my two front teeth going to be wider than they are now? Are they going to be the same width? I know they're, very short now because I've whittled them down from eating with them, but they're basically going to be the same as they were when my teeth were good. They're going to get them just like that. And so, I haven't thought too much about once they're in and how it's going to make me feel. I mean, even looking, like I said, I have all these records of, the season TV shows and interviews, and just even my wife watching season 2 and season 3 of Major League Bowhunter, she's like, it's like a totally different person that she's watching. And I'm just talking about hunting or whatever happened during, for that particular episode. But the way I, talked and the way I expressed myself was just night and day different than the last probably 5 years for sure. But to find out that, like, when I came on my consultation and when Matt told me, they do everything in-house, I mean, that's pretty incredible that they're, the people that are designing these implants and getting them as close to your original set of teeth as possible are here, and they're upstairs in this facility. It's kind of surprising to think. I mean, you'd think that'd be in a big, huge metropolitan area like a Houston or Denver or somewhere, some of these places that, advertise like the Nuvia implant centers or these Clear Choice type places. And then really to find out that, those, and then the individual monitors they put on each tooth to, like, that's something unique to really Dr. Matt kind of invented that, like, nobody else does, that fine tunes each part of it, that gets it as close to being your, like your original teeth. I mean, they're basically become part of your jaw, and there's just, I mean, no technology is spared from this place. And, you may be able to go to these other places and say, oh, we do this, we do that. But Matt just made me feel comfortable and talking about the technology, and then kind of comparing notes on, okay, if you go and get surgery and then the next day you put in a set, we basically do the same thing here, but that's a temporary set because you're going to be swollen, you're going to, you're going to have scar tissue, all these things that now that he's told me make total sense. And I'm so glad I didn't pull the trigger on going and doing an overnight type thing, because I mean, this is the most important thing on my body, really, that and from a financial standpoint, the huge commitment and all that, I want it to be as close to basically going, we're replacing your teeth with the same teeth you had when you were in high school. Nothing will be different. That's really what they're doing, but with stronger teeth that you don't have to worry about getting cavities or, that kind of stuff, or needing a crown one day or a root canal. And, I can just remember dentist visit after, got a filling and cavity and, all that stuff. And you're going to have an indestructible substance in your, mouth now, but, going to be able to eat steak. So I'll tell you, if you are apprehensive at all about getting some work done, my experience at Yellowstone Family Dental took all my apprehension out of the way from really the moment I walked in the door. Just the smiling faces at the front desk to, meeting Dr. Matt, and just I felt such at ease, and I'm the biggest guy that was so leery about everybody seeing how bad my teeth were. And by just going on that first consultation of Yellowstone Family Dental, it totally took all those inhibitions away. And here I am about to have my procedure done. And it all started by just the comfort factor I felt by coming here with these specific people. And they're not going to judge you. In fact, they look at it as, hey, we know, they've dealt with it so much, they understand what you're going through, and make you feel at ease and go, we can do something about it. So from that standpoint, I can't see how you would feel any more comfortable anywhere else. And it doesn't even have a typical, I'm going to a dentist appointment feel. It's just totally different. And I'm so glad I walked in the door, and I'd recommend it to anybody out there that's got something questionable that they've been putting off, just come see them. When he walked in, right away, he just gives off this positive vibe with big smile and great teeth, but just how passionate he is about talking about what he does and how he goes about it and the things he's developed over the years. And he was even very open with me, saying, hey, we used to do this and we used to use this material. Now we have this. And he's like, I still believed in this product years ago, but we would have issues with this, and this. Now we have all this new technology, and he gets excited about talking about his craft, just like I do when I'm talking about this big elk that I spotted and calling it in for a hunter and, things like that. And it illuminates off of him about how confident he is about all this process and what it's going to do for the patient too. And he's seen that year after year through patient after patient, what it's done to their mental health and how their life has changed in a lot of different ways. And he's got so many different stories. All right, well, we're out here east of Billings, Montana, about 25 miles. And we're out here on a ranch that I manage for a good friend of mine that's back from the deep south. Obviously, I'm not from around the Montana area. I grew up, born and raised in Mississippi, and through a mutual friend, met a guy from Arkansas that actually owns this ranch out here. And it's a big elk hunting ranch, mule deer, and we've got some horses. And so I'm in heaven out here with me and my wife, Jordan, out here managing this ranch, mainly for hunting. We get to help our cattle grazing guy, every now and then gather some cattle and things like that, work the vaccination. We just shipped a bunch of calves last week, and we got to help with that on horseback. So that's been a lot of fun for me personally, just being out here doing that kind of stuff that I've never really done. Well, from the beginning, it's been a lot of years that my teeth, I felt like, had been getting compromised over the years, and went from missing crown to not getting that crown put on, just to actually going in for a procedure where I was going to have a couple of implants done for my back molars. And that was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Life happened, you move around, and then, all of a sudden I find myself out here, and things really have, were progressing for the worse. Because, now I don't have these back teeth that I had kind of gotten ready to, have these implants put in, but, getting back there to do that was just such a hassle and wasn't going to happen. And, my wife really kind of pushed me to have the consultation with Yellowstone Dental. So we were out here, and things had progressively gotten worse with my teeth, and I had gotten to where so many people, I think, are, where I had learned to hide it. And I don't think a lot of people really understood exactly or noticed it. But I did every day, and just in everything, going from what, they used to be like, and then it just seemed like very quickly things got worse. And then I didn't, then I kind of was more embarrassed about going in and having it done. And so I just learned to cover my teeth with my lips, when I talked or laughed and smiled in pictures. And, today with social media, and especially giving my career and job with, having an outdoor hunting show for 15 years now, I can look back on old episodes and then, the most recent ones, and really see the progression. And especially with social media, my guys, media team is wanting me to post whatever I'm doing throughout the week. And, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff to do out here at the ranch. But I was so self-conscious about kind of the way I looked. Even when I would do a little promo video for a sponsor product or something, it just really bugged me how my teeth had just gotten really compromised and short. And so going into Yellowstone Family Dental was, you know, pretty anxious going in. But once I got in there, the staff in there, all the girls, and then when Matt came in and just kind of set me at ease about it. And we're like, man, we deal with this all the time. You need this procedure. And they just really made me feel good about it. And once I kind of got in there and got to know everybody, it set my mind at ease and go, okay, you know, can we make this happen financially, and see, you know, what the details are going to be. And once we, you know, felt like we could make that happen, I was 100% ready to get it done as soon as possible. So, and the process has been great, from going in day one to getting the temporaries to now having these, you know, permanents in for quite a while now. I guess it's been a month or two. And now it's something I should have done a long time ago. And it's definitely changed my mental state, you know, from how I was in general, because I was self-conscious about it more than anybody, obviously. And my wife saw that day in and day out. But it was something, no matter what was going on in life, that just always bugged me, you know, especially from a social media standpoint, being able to take pictures at the concert or smile real big. And you know, I used to have a big smile, and I had gotten to where I just wouldn't even show any teeth. And now after this procedure, I feel like I'm back to more who I used to be. I don't have anxiety about going places. I didn't want to go, you know, we went to a wedding a couple of weeks ago in Montana, and it was just, it was an awesome wedding out in a big ranch, straight Montana. All the guys had cowboy hats on, and, you know, the wedding party was dressed, you know, real Western. It was a great experience, but it was just, I wasn't self-conscious about how I looked, you know, and it had everything to do with my teeth, you know, being able to talk to people and smile and not, you know, meet people that I didn't know that I always felt like were looking at me, you know, looking at my teeth, and I was always hiding them. And, man, I was excited to go, and I hadn't been like that in years. And it was all based on my teeth, you know, to be honest with you. You know, there were a lot of different dynamics to it, but, everybody in their specific area, from Brenda, you know, crafting the teeth, you know, down to the people that took the teeth and cleaned, and, you know, just every step of the way, everybody made me feel, just, you know, relaxed and not self-conscious about the whole thing. And they were all as excited about the final procedure that, you know, it almost more so, because they saw who I was and the kind of my demeanor probably when I first walked in to, you know, getting toward the finish line, and then really they talked about, you know, how the temporaries looked great to me. I mean, I would have been great the first set. I mean, because that was a 100% improvement right after the immediate procedure. But after realizing what they do to really make this as much as a permanent thing as possible was really important to me, because I had done research all over the country, actually, you know, for this teeth in a day and all these different options you have. And the way Matt explained everything to me is, I mean, they're going through this process. So when you get your finals put in, I mean, you're as close to having the teeth that you were born with. It's almost a better situation, because you have a situation where you don't have, you know, these roots that are going to decay eventually or whatever. I mean, the hardware that's in your mouth is going to last longer than you do. And so anyway, but the whole process of tightening your gums down as you put your, you know, initial surgery in, you know, things are swollen, and, you know, you start going through this process, and there's a whole reason behind it. So when you do get those finals, you know, they're basically putting, just like people get an individual implant. I mean, that's basically what you're getting, but it's so much stronger of a process than just going in overnight, getting teeth in a day, and then all of a sudden your gums are going to start shrinking up, and then you got these massive gaps in your temporaries. But that's what they do. You know, you go in, you go through the process, and as your gums start healing and getting harder, And if somebody's watching this, it's kind of like when you start flossing all of a sudden again and your gums start bleeding and get sore and swell up and then they harden up. I mean, you need to be flossing all the time. Most of us don't do it, but it was that similar process of getting those gums hardened back up and tight. So when these finals, you know, the second set went in, it was a little tighter, and then the third set goes in. I mean, it's a real, you know, thing in your mouth, just like your teeth. In fact, for me, I haven't had the luxury of having these back teeth for so long. And so, you know, having the finals put in and the strength of the, you know, the hardware that's in your mouth that the teeth are made out of is stronger than the teeth you're born with. You know, and like Dr. Larsen said, you can literally bite through barbed wire with these teeth. He said, I wouldn't recommend it, but you know, it's been a great experience, and it's been so long since I had no sensitivity in my teeth. I mean, I used to have pretty bad sensitivity even before I started losing some of these back molars and getting crowns. I would, you know, can remember eating something hot or cold, and it just really bothered me. And that's one thing with this. I mean, it's been great. I can eat anything I want, and you know, it doesn't bother me. But the biggest thing is the way they look to me, and it makes me feel mentally, I'm not self-conscious about, you know, people looking at my teeth anymore. Yeah, I mean, from day one, just having everybody that came into the room made you feel like they're excited about the process and they sympathize with how you feel. And that's kind of the biggest thing. I felt like when I went in for my very first consultation, it's almost like they knew, even though they all have great teeth, you know, all Matt's, you know, people that are on the staff there are just very personable, but they made me feel like they, you know, could relate to what I was going through. And I think it's because of the amount of patients they see that are in similar situations. And so they've gotten not just my story, but they've gotten, you know, people from all different walks of life. And there are a lot of different reasons people may be self-conscious about it. Mine was, I'm in the public eye to a certain extent, you know, not like some, you know, big movie star or anything, but just the people that have been following Major League Bowhunter for years. We've been on the air for 15 years now. And, you know, you can look back and see just even when we started social media, the difference in kind of how my smile had progressed and the, you know, things you go through in life. But everybody was very personable with just, you know, who I was. They, you know, all of them had learned kind of my background and knew where I'd come from with the baseball career. And even some of the pictures that I brought in, they wanted to see how my smile used to look was some of the baseball pictures. And, you know, had some of the girls in the office that were baseball fans and could talk very knowledgeably about that. But it just made me feel real at ease through the whole process, and their excitement about, hey, we know what you're going through, and this is gonna solve that. I mean, and their confidence in that just made me feel okay every step of the way. No matter, you know, when you go in for your procedure, they're taking some of those things out and you basically teethless, you know, and I just didn't feel any anxiety at all with them because they deal with it every day. And then, you know, down to Brenda that was, you know, building the actual teeth and looking to go, I want this to be as comfortable and as close to what you had before you neglected your teeth. And it's my fault. I mean, I neglected my teeth. I can remember my dentist in junior high saying, you're going to be the toothless baseball player one day if you don't, you know, start flossing and, you know, quit eating all the sugar and things like that, or brush your teeth more. But I will say, no matter where you're from, the process, and I researched a lot before I went to Matt, and going in and after having all the consultation and the experience all the way through, I can't see how there'd be anywhere in the country that would be a better situation. And in fact, I mean, knowing how they do things where you're progressing the whole time. So when you do get your finals, I mean, you've had a chance to look at yourself with, you know, not necessarily a cookie cutter set of you know, semi-permanents, but then you really go, okay, is this feel good? Do I like it? And so by the time you're ready for that final, you know, procedure, I mean, you know exactly what, you know, if there's anything. And I had a little bit of change, you know, where I felt like even though they looked great, so many years of learning to close my mouth, I still felt like when I was just relaxed, you know, in a state like just kind of listening to somebody talk, you couldn't see any of my teeth because I just still had learned to close in my mouth so much. And they altered that a little bit. So we can give you a little bit different profile where just when you're, kind of in a relaxed state, there's more of your smile showing and your teeth showing. And so they altered it just ever so slightly, a little bit each step of the way. And I just don't, I couldn't find anywhere that did that in the entire country, really. I mean, there are a lot of the teeth in a day type places that advertise that, but I couldn't imagine having that procedure, getting a set of permanents, and then not going through the 6-month, procedure basically that I went through to get them to where now there's no gaps in, the implants, and they're as rigid and as strong as the teeth you're born with. And so really the process, I mean, I would say no matter where you are in the country, come to Montana. I mean, fly into Billings, they got a commercial airport, and see these, Matt and his staff, because, the way they treated me, I would recommend it to anybody, no matter how much anxiety you have about it. Come see them and they'll set your mind at ease. And that was, to me, the biggest thing, because it was a matter of just getting there, the first initial consult. And I was so, psyched out about it. I just, I was like, I just didn't want to go let anybody see me like this. And I mean, really, as soon as I walked in, there was a kind of a calming effect of, first of all, the facility's awesome, and just, everybody there is, got a great attitude no matter who you are. And it just really set my mind at ease. And I would definitely, it's worth the traveling expense. I mean, I am proof that this is the process, that if you're looking to invest that type of money, there are other options you can go to, and they'll, basically do the procedure in a day and you go back, and, but I would highly recommend Matt and his staff at Yellowstone Family Dental, because it's the most permanent and they're going to take care of you.